a T3 micro instance with SSH open to the entire internet got crypto-mined within 24 hours, racking up $1,800 in data transfer costs and exfiltrating 200 GB of data. Here's exactly why and how to never let this happen to you. Welcome to TheCodeForge. Before we dig into that production issue, let's cover Amazon Web Services Elastic Compute Cloud basics. Elastic Compute Cloud stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. It's Amazon Web Services' core service for renting virtual servers. You pick an instance type, an OS image, and a security group, and you're running in minutes. You pay per second, and when you stop the instance, compute billing stops, though storage continues. Amazon Web Services divides instance types into families based on resource ratios. T-Series is burstable, great for dev/test, but dangerous for production. C is for compute-heavy tasks, R for memory-intensive apps, I for high I/O. Pick wrong, and you either overpay or underperform. Elastic Compute Cloud pricing is a decision matrix. On-demand is pay-as-you-go, no commitment. Savings plans give you a discount in exchange for an hourly spend commitment, and they're flexible across families. Reserved instances lock you into a specific type and AZ for 1-3 years. Spot instances are spare capacity at up to 90% off, but they can be terminated with a 2-minute warning. Security groups are the single most common misconfiguration vector. They're stateful. If you allow inbound traffic, the response is automatically allowed. There are no deny rules, only allows. A single overly permissive rule, like SSH from 00000, opens your instance to the entire internet within seconds. Here's a script to find any security groups that have SSH open to the world. Run this in your account, you might be surprised. The output lists every group with that dangerous rule. Elastic Block Store provides block storage that persists independently of your instance. GP3 is the new default. It gives you 3,000 IOPS baseline regardless of size, and it's often cheaper than GP2. GP2 has a burst credit model that can silently throttle your I/O when credits run out. Migrating from GP2 to GP3 is an online operation with no downtime. First list all GP2 volumes, then run modify volume to change the type. The volume stays attached and available during the migration. Instance store volumes are physically attached to the host server. They're extremely fast and included in the instance price, but data is lost if the instance stops or fails. Elastic Block Store volumes are network attached and persist independently. Always use Elastic Block Store for anything you need to keep. Use these commands to check if your instance has instance store volumes and whether the instance type supports them. Look for types with a suffix like I3 large or M5D large for local NVMe. User data is a script you pass at launch that runs once on boot. Use it to install agents, pull config, and register with your management system. The trap: it runs only once, so wrap it in idempotent logic with a lock file. And never put secrets in the script, fetch them from parameter store. This Bootstrap script checks for a lock file, installs the CloudWatch agent, fetches the database URL from parameter store, and then creates the lock file. On subsequent boots, it exits immediately. This ensures consistency across restarts. Every Elastic Compute Cloud instance has a metadata endpoint that hands out instance ID, identity and access management role credentials, and even user data. Version 1 is plaintext and vulnerable to SSRF attacks. Version 2 requires a session token. Always enforce IMSF2 on every instance. Run this command to enforce IMSF2 on a running instance. It sets HTTP tokens to required, meaning all metadata requests must include a session token. Test in staging first, as some legacy workloads may break. Placement groups let you control instance placement. Cluster groups put instances close together for low latency, but they don't span AZs. One AZ failure takes down the whole group. Spread groups maximize fault tolerance. Partition groups are for large distributed systems like Hadoop. Here's how to create a cluster placement group and launch instances into it. Remember, you must launch instances into the group. You can't add existing ones. Also, cluster groups are single AZ, so plan for that. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The developer opened SSH to 00000 for a quick test and forgot to revert. Bots scan the entire IP4 space every 15 minutes. Within 24 hours, a crypto miner was installed. The T3 Micro ran out of CPU credits, switched to unlimited mode, and the data transfer to the mining pool cost $1,800. Total bill, $2,300. The fix was immediate. Terminate the compromised instance, rotate all identity and access management credentials that were on that instance, and delete the dangerous security group rule. Then add CloudWatch alarms, CPU utilization 80% for 5 minutes pages on call, and a billing alarm at $100. Also, switch to Systems Manager Session Manager for production access, which doesn't require a public IP or SSH keys. T3 Micro has a baseline of only 10–20% of a vCPU. Under sustained load, CPU credits drain to zero and the instance throttles. For production, use at least M6 large. The T-Series is only for sporadic workloads like dev/test. This is the exact command that caused the $2,300 incident. The bad line is sitter 00000, which allows SSH from any IP on the internet. Never use this for any management protocol. Always restrict to your specific IP or use Session Manager. GP2 volumes have burst credits that deplete under sustained I/O. A 100 GB GP2 volume has a baseline of only 300 IOPS. When credits run out, performance tanks. Always use GP3 for new volumes. It gives 3,000 IOPS baseline regardless of size. As of mid-2024, Amazon Web Services now defaults new Elastic Compute Cloud accounts to EBS2 HTTP tokens, required. However, existing instances or accounts created before this change may still use EBS1. Always verify with Amazon Web Services Elastic Compute Cloud describe instances, and explicitly set HTTP tokens required on every instance to avoid a credential leak via SSRF. The article mentions snapshotting before resizing, but doesn't show how to automate backups. Use Amazon Data Lifecycle Manager, DLM, to create and expire Elastic Block Store snapshots on a schedule. This ensures recoverability without manual intervention. The article recommends Spot for interruptible workloads, but doesn't explain how to handle the 2-minute warning. Use Elastic Compute Cloud Instance Metadata Service, IMDS, to detect the instance action endpoint, HTTP//169, 254, 169, 254/latest/metadata/spot/instance action, and gracefully drain connections or checkpoint state before termination. Here are the exact commands to debug the most common Elastic Compute Cloud issues. Check security group rules for SSH, monitor CPU credit balance to see if a T instance is throttling, and check Elastic Block Store burst balance for GP2 volumes. Use Systems Manager Session Manager for secure shell access without public IP. Let's run through some common interview questions. What is the difference between Elastic Block Store and Instance Store? Elastic Block Store persists independently. Instance Store is ephemeral and lost on stop terminate. How do security groups differ from network ACLs? SGs are stateful, allow only, instance level, and ACLs are stateless, allow deny, subnet level. When would you choose spot instances over on demand? For stateless, fault-tolerant workloads like batch processing or CI/CD, where 90% cost savings outweigh interruption risk. And a few frequently asked questions. Can I change an instance type after launch? Yes, stop the instance and modify the instance type, then start it again. What happens to my data when I stop an Elastic Compute Cloud instance? Elastic Block Store volumes persist. Instance store data is lost. Compute billing stops, but storage billing continues. How do I secure SSH access to Elastic Compute Cloud? Restrict to your IP, use Systems Manager Session Manager, or use Elastic Compute Cloud Instance Connect. Never open 00000. To wrap up, security groups are your first line of defense. Never open SSH to the world. Migrate GP2 volumes to GP3 for consistent performance. Always set CloudWatch alarms on billing and CPU. And choose your instance family based on actual workload metrics, not guesswork. Thanks for watching. Ready to go deeper? Up next, Amazon Web Services Simple Storage Service Basics, then Amazon Web Services Virtual Private Cloud and Networking, then Amazon Web Services Identity and Access Management. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.